Well, that seems to be working for me. Well, let's see what we've got. Right, I think we're live. Morning, Robin. Yes, canny week, enjoyed it. Very good weather. Morning, Heather, you alright? Glad to be back, yes. Ken, you've got there, good. Yes, I had a good break, thank you. It was very good. I think excellent connection. It's saying excellent connection, so right. I think we're live. Morning, Robin. What am I doing? Yes, canny week, enjoyed it. Very good weather. Morning, Heather, you alright? Why is that happening? Yes. Ken, you've got there. Good. Yes, I had a good break, thank you. It was very good. I think excellent connection. It's saying excellent connection, so live. Morning, Robin. What am I doing? Yes, canny week, enjoy it. Very good weather. I don't know what the heck. Morning, Heather, you alright? Why is that happening? Yes. Ken, you've got there. Good. Yes, I had a good break, thank you. It was why are we echoing? I think excellent connection. Give me a minute or so. It's an excellent connection, so live. Morning, Robin. What am I doing? Yes, canny week, enjoy it. Very good weather. I don't know what the heck. Morning, Heather, you alright? Why is that happening? Yes. Ken, you've got there. Good. Yes, I had a good break, thank you. It was very good. I think excellent connection. Give me a minute or so. It's an excellent connection, so live. Morning, Robin. What am I doing? Yes, canny week, enjoy it. Very good weather. I don't know what the heck. Morning, Heather, you alright? Why is that happening? Yes. Ken, you've got there. Good. Yes, I had a good break, thank you. It was very good. I think excellent connection. Give me a minute or so. I think that's all right now. Right. A week of blazing in the sun. Now down to work yet. Can you actually hear me? Now I've turned off all that echo. Let me know if you can hear me. Well, I'm talking, but I don't know whether I'm getting through. I don't know what the heck happened there. Can you hear me? Gillian, sound is fine now. Alright, thank you, Gillian. Hearing loudly. Right, thanks. Right, that's it. There's some kind of feedback there, which I think I've sorted. So let's get to where we want to be. Right. Right, good, thank you. That's fine. I was messing around with some music last night, and I think just getting a feedback. So I'm on which camera am I on? I'm on that many different cameras. That one's, it's strange, like looking through a fog. So we'll go to the picture. This is the picture. This is the picture we're going to do. This is coming down the bottom of Robin Hood's Bay. You knew I'd have Robin Hood's Bay on after I've been there. So this struck me. A photograph never seems to do justice unless you mess around with it on your apps and stuff. So what I like about this, that when I paint it, is I'm going to do it loose. It's going to be nice set of light, dark, light and dark here, and light and dark here. So it's going to be some nice sort of contrasts in the picture. So I think it'll be fine. I think you'll enjoy it. It was absolutely red hot down in, well, it was absolutely red hot most of the week, but down in Robin Hood's Bay it was really hot. And walking back up wasn't exactly easy. So where we are, let's have a look. Get to the picture. Right, so yes, so we're going to do that loose. Which camera? That one. This is my camera. Loose picture. No masking. Just painting in and getting a nice loose light watercolour. And now I've got some kind of swirl on the picture. Don't know why that happened. Right, okay then. So we'll go to my drawing. I don't know what's happening. Right, we'll go to the drawing and see what we've got there. So this is the picture. What's happening? I don't know what's happening because it's saying you're experiencing buffering, and I can't figure out. There's nothing different on here that I was doing before. I don't know why that's sticking. Right, Linda, I did have a nice holiday. It was good. I just got a sense that this not exactly going clear, this video. I'll carry on with it and hope that this buffering or whatever sorts itself out. I don't know why it's doing it, but I've got perfect setups here. It's red hot in here. Right, okay, well I'll carry on and hopefully see an excellent connection. So I don't know what happened there. Linda, can I make this week? Too many things up. That's fine. That's all right, Linda. I know it's summer days. It's chucking it down out there though. Right, I'm going to start while we've got an excellent connection and get going. So I'll zoom in as we go, but we just want to basically get this drawing done and then a nice loose picture on it. So what you want is sort of the corner of the house coming down just slightly over to the left. I wouldn't worry about the sky up the top here, we'll just wash that in. So just slightly over to the left, draw the line down, and I'll draw it in quite strong. Draw the line down for the corner of the house. So this is like the leading corner that you can see coming down here. And then the angle down, like that, quite a tight angle, because you know what this place is like. It's very steep banks, etc. That's sort of the guttering in there, and then you can see a little bit of a, don't know if it's a chimney or not, or an edge out there, and then another bit of the guttering just slightly higher. Like I said, it's quite tight, quite strong. That comes down to there, and then you've got the end of the house just sort of there. So that's the far side of the house coming down like that. Got a window coming down from up here, very, very narrow because of the perspective, and very tight angles for like the sills, etc. And then you've got the window coming out, sticking out like that. Goes out like that, down to tight angle. It's that tight of an angle you can hardly see the front of it, you're just seeing the side. Coming down, let's go back to there, about there. Morning Janet, you alright? I think everybody's getting through. Right, so that comes down to about there, like that. Steps back in for the sort of the supporting area there. Like that. Very narrow frontage, because that you can hardly see it. And we're just going to wash these in very loose, so don't worry too much. And then you've got the trees coming across, the bushes coming across, which we'll just paint in. We'll just paint in very loose on that. So you've got a window coming down up the top, like that, just to see that. There's down there, that footpath goes up. It's quite a the best thing about Robin Hood's Bay is actually if you get off this main road, there's lots of little nooks and crannies and little houses where you can walk in. They all seem to have lovely gardens, but that would mean painting flowers. So there's a window up there, and then you've got the lamp. Move the lamp slightly over if you want, so it's not right on top of the window. Angle like that, tight angle down, back in, like that, and then a top to it. I don't think you can see the top so much, but we'll just make that up like that. See the far side of it. Right, and then you can see the bottom of it like that. And then the post down. And draw the post in, making sure you keep it level with the brickwork so that there's nothing going off at strange angles. But a lot of your trees are going to come in front of that. So you can draw this post in. Like I said, this is going to be a loose picture, not worried about masking or anything like that. Forget the drain pipes, you don't need them. So you've got that in like that. And then there's a doorway, just steps out. There's just a top of a doorway just there like that. And a lamp or something just above it, and a lamp there. But these are all sort of, I think there's a doorway and then there's a window. So that's the doorway. Again, very narrow because you seeing this at a tight angle, and then there's sort of a window just behind it. Like that, which sort of steps up like that, perspective wise. And then the bottom of the building is coming up like that and stepping up the steps to the corner piece. And there is a little, very narrow window just there, just like that there. Janet, morning, damp start the day, yes. It was a damp start of the day. Darker, it was like going back to January. I think there's a little window there, but I'm not too worried about suggesting that. There's a lamp of some sort just there. And then in the distance, there's a car there. Ignore that. The road curves round and sort of comes up like that. So the road's curving round, and then the comes up there, and then you've got the steppy stones coming up. So watch the angles on these stones. They're sort of coming towards you and then stepping up like that. One goes across there towards you, stepping up like that, and the top's coming along there, and that wants to come right back up the edge of your picture. So it's very narrow just there, get broader just here where it's quite deep, and comes up and narrows off. And then you've got lots of little paving stones. I'm not going to be too concerned with the paving stones in, because I want to just paint this quite light. I want a nice light contrast down here and shadow. That's what you want. All this shadow down here and the strong shadows of this is what you want. So that goes along there like that. So then you've got a window in about here. And we're not masking, we're just going to paint dead carefully around all this. Dead loosely, carefully. There's a sign above. Whether we get the sign in is another matter. And you've got the lamppost. The lamppost gets brought. And then just here, there's an angle up. So just from this edge of the pavement here, there's an angle goes up like that. And then some flags going up. And that's a little... This is very narrow. This is a little like a little footpath just up behind this building here. So there's a little flag there, and the lamppost comes down just in front of that flag like that. And then it's foliage. You've got foliage coming up. There's a signage here of some sort. I'll tell you what, we'll put it in and just see when we go on whether we need it in. A little sort of map, I think. So all this is foliage. Ignore the top light sky. I don't think you need to. Ignore the sky, but I don't think you need to worry about that. We'll just take the foliage off the top. So you've got that sort of pathway up to there. And you can see how narrow the edge of this building is. It's just there. Like I said, we'll fetch foliage out over here. The whole idea of this is to have a dark wall here, some dark foliage, some dark shadows in here, but lots of light catching the pavements and the road. We're not putting the yellow lines in. So there on the other side, you can see a little window in the distance, like that. There's a roof coming down, just about there. But I don't want to get too bogged down in detail over here. I want to actually. There's water running down here. There's water running down here. But I'm not too worried about getting bogged down in detail. A little window. There's tree trunks, but I'm just going to paint this in dark and then get the nice light off the tree coming up. So that the foliage is going to be up here. Foliage is going to be up here. And then you've got this building here, which is coming down like that. So that one's coming down in across there. Like that. Narrow windows. It's a steep bank, so be careful of your perspective. You know, the bottom part there will be going up like that, and the top part will be coming. Well, actually, it's going level or up there. It's just because you'll be walking down a steep bank here, and there's a bit of a footpath just coming up there like that, and then you've got the figures. They've got a dog, but what I would do is we'll not put the excuse me. If you want the dog in, we'll not put the dog in amongst the footpath because it sort of gets lost off. We'll put these people in walking, and he's got. I must have took his photograph at a strange angle when he was leaning to the left. So we want these to be about here, and again, it's going to be very loose. These figures, shorts in, legs in. And his missus there. Got like a jumper tied round her. And a dog. So you put the dog in, just there like that, and just in front of it like that. And then all this is going to be light and dark, like shade, etc. So that's your drawing. It's not complicated drawing, it's just fairly straightforward. But like I said, we're going to make, I just want that to be more level that way. Going to make this light, dark, light foliage, dark shadows, light, dark, all that, light and dark, light and dark. That's what we're going for. So we'll go for that and we'll start painting. I'll just get back on the picture. I'm trying to make sure that I've got good connections. Yeah, good connections. Right, so that's it. So just watercolours and very, very light. And if you hit round a lamp and you hit it wrong or you hit the thing, you can always use a bit of gouache, but I wouldn't be too worried about it, to be quite honest. You want a biggish brush. And what we'll do first of all is put the sky in back here, the light, and then while that's drying we'll concentrate on other areas. So right, plenty of clean. Don't make the sky too dark. I'm just using a pale blue, very like a cobalt, but very, very wet. There, very watery. Right, and just paint that in across the top of here like that. Once we've got the bulk of it done, I'll close in for you and just take that down there like that and into there, and then just break it up. Just break it up. Like I say, you don't want a dark sky. Now I want a little bit of light in here. I don't want too much in here really. I don't want it to be too dark. I would actually leave it white, but then you won't have any contrast here. So we will put a little bit of colour into it. So just a little touch of yellow ochre. Little touch of yellow ochre, fairly wet. And just wet into that area there. Just go around your figures. And wet it into your path. Wet it into your path. And really light with this. Just fill this up to here. Now as you get near the top up here like that, just doing it like that. Very light yellow ochre. Hardly as anything. I don't know if you can see. Hardly as any colour in there at all. Now as you're getting nearer, just get a little bit of... Wait a second. I've lost my crimson. Just get a little bit of blue and crimson. I've lost my crimson. 1 second. There it is. Yeah, just a little bit of French ultramarine, a little bit of crimson. And fairly wet. Just put that down there. Fairly wet. Blend that in as you're coming up like that. So you're getting it to gradually come into shadow just up here. Not strong shadow, but you're just turning that yellow ochre. Wash it. You can see the watermark on the paper there. And even if you leave some white patches, don't worry about them. Just get that in like that. Right. What I want to do now, I'm moving from area to area while I'm waiting for bits to dry. So I'm going to actually put in this darker area just under the trees here, just under the foliage, and just try and leave a little bit of suggestion of things going on. So I might just turn down to a slightly smaller brush, just something down there, right? But I want this to be dark. I don't want to have much detail in here. I want this to be dark so you can sort of get a sense of shadow and light hitting places. So I'll tell you what, before you do that, just get some wet yellow ochre. Some wet yellow ochre. And do that building there. The edge of that building there, like that. Down to sort of where the roof is and round the window. And don't worry about it being dead neat. Just down there to that roof, like that. Round the window. Go underneath it. And down there to the bottom like that. And while you're on, do this front building here. just with the yellow ochre, very narrow window panes. Very narrow window panes, and just get them into there like that. That's fine. I'm just planning, I'm just looking and planning. So I think the next stage really is to get this building in, this darker side of the building, so you can go back to a bit. Now, what you need to do is get this in strong and dark, so you don't have to go over it more than once. You don't have to keep going over it. So we need a strong wash down here, missing out the, round the light, cutting around the windows, etc., and coming down into this foliage here. So you want strong blue, some burnt sienna, get a really nice dark, and be prepared to drop other colours in, and some yellow ochre separate. Be prepared to drop other colours in as you're going along, like that. Right, get this as dark as you can. If you can't get it strong enough, dark enough, you can add some Payne's grey to it. Get this dark, a nice rich dark. Be careful if you've got the sky wet there. Round the edge of the building, round the edge of the window, round the edge of the lamp, like that. And then just sort of crisscross it into that area over there. Now this is really dark, so paint part of it, and then before you carry on too far, get your yellow ochres and drop them in patches, so that you get some light into it. So you're just dropping yellow ochres into these darks. Like I say, if you can't get it strong enough, don't be frightened of using a little bit of Payne's grey in it, but I think I've got it strong enough as I want it with the blue. So keep this coming down, keep it darker over to the lamppost, and just leave an odd gap for the post here and there, but basically just take it through like that and break it up. Fetch it nice and dark down here. Keep working the top part, otherwise it'll dry on you. So a bit of yellow ochre into there, allowing it to run in. Drop more, go into your French ultramarine and drop more ultramarine in parts. Do this while everything is wet. Don't allow it to dry out on you, so do it while it's wet. So strong brown, burnt sienna blue, and make it strong and dark round this sort of shadow side here where the window is. So round there, if you leave the sign in, fine. If you don't get it, don't worry about it. So down there, into there, under that signage there, under that window there, down into that pavement area like that, and then yellow ochre. Fetch the yellow ochre down towards the light, so you get a sense of a bit of light coming in just over here like this, but the darker part just coming in across the top of that edge there. That's alright, that's nice and strong. That's what we want. Actually, while you're on now, if that's dried, you can get a smaller brush. Get a small brush and you can do the dark over here. The same technique. So some burnt sienna, quite strong, French ultramarine, quite strong, and go into this area here. So you're going under that sort of light bit for the roof, like that, fetching it down a little bit, round the window, lift it up broken with the side of the brush, so it's just broken. Down that side of that building there, nice and strong, like that. Keep it strong in these areas here, the top, but now just do the same. Get your yellow ochre and lighten it up with yellow ochre as it's coming down the bottom, so you get trying to get a sense of light coming through from the other side, round the corner. And what I would actually do is lighten it up round the people's heads. If you miss them, don't worry about it. You can do them afterwards by adding a bit of gouache to them. So light the yellow ochre into there. Fetch it down the bottom where the sort of the path area is, like that. And then just drop some wet yellow ochre in here and there, so you just give a sense of light into it. So all I'm doing is dropping. Oops, depends. I'll lighten it. I'll zoom in a little bit for you, just to see if you can see it a bit better. So you can see the light and dark here. You can see where there's dry patches and light patches. Same over here. So push that yellow ochre up into it like that. So it's nice and strong, like that. Now, while you're down there, now just get some crimson and blue. So you want crimson and French ultramarine. So you get a nice sort of wash like that. And what you do is you create some shadow down in here while this is still wet. So just come from the bottom. In fact, I'll just put the shadow in and let that run together, and just leave a few dots of light as though you can see round it, there's some light kicking into it. And the shadow sort of comes about there, round them people. You can probably put a bit more crimson in there. It's probably a bit too blue. Round them people, leave a gap, put an odd little line in here and there so it looks like it's broken shadow. Join it up to the wall, the building, so just let them run together. Fetch it round the person and fetch it up underneath here, like that. Take it across, and like I say, leave an odd gap here and there, so it looks like the shadow but the sunlight getting through in places. Drag that up there. Now just get a damper brush with the shadow and just drag the same shadow but wetter, clearer, into this building like that, and just blend it into that so it just runs together. It feels like as though there's a shadow being cast onto this building. Just a few streaks out. So the shadow and everything just blends together. And do the same shadow over here. So just underneath that roof, just pull a bit of shadow down at an angle like that. So you get the sense that there's light coming through from the end, but you've just got shade into there. One or two little streaks into there. And you just let that run together and blend together, and that's fine for that. I'll zoom back out so that you can see it. There you go. So it's just all run together. You can see the wash is just running together. So now a bit of water, and just run round the edges and just drag out from it here and there, so that you're creating a little bit of softer shadow. You're not having just a solid hard shadow down there. You're breaking breaking it up. I'm just going to dry off the bottom of here because it's pooling like that, and as it's pooling, as it's wet, it's running back up into there. Can you see? I'm not particularly worried about it, but I just didn't want it to carry on too much more on that. Right, we're getting into it. So these figures may need to come down a bit so the shadows are a bit lower. So I might make them bigger. I want them to be away from that shadow. As in the photograph, you can see they're farther down, so we'll probably make them a little bit bigger. So now we can actually put in the foliage up here and just let that come down. So you want a nice bright yellow first of all. Just get another palette so that I can get some clean colour in. So a bright yellow. Add a little bit of blue to it. You don't want a lot, you just want a little hint of blue into it. That's too much blue into it. Something like about that. Something like that, right. Get a brush and you want to flick this in. You want to flick this in so that you're getting light patches and flick to suggest that it's coming down at an angle. So I'm just going to use a biggish brush with a point, wet, and I'm just going to do flicks till I get to a broader mass down here. So hold the brush upright so that you're just doing it very quickly. You're not trying to get too involved. So just a few little flicks, and you can fetch it forward onto the building here and there, like that. And as you're getting down here, obviously you just fill it in more. Just fetching that across and into that window area like that. And fetch that down, and you just sort of drag that down and into this here. Just in front of that roof and that building. You're going to put darker foliage in, don't worry, you're going to put darker foliage in. Don't worry about joining leaves up or anything like that. Now get a little bit of your blue and crimson. Same brush, and just flick some of these in at the top. So you're creating some darker little patches of suggestions of foliage here and there. So it's not all just bright. You're creating some shadow sides. Those flicks, right? That's all right. You don't need too much up there. So that's fine up there. And then continue on down with the same colouring and put it darker. So where your shadows are here, it just sort of blends in. Just some stuff. We'll put some harder ones in afterwards. Just some stuff. Don't do too much, otherwise you'll lose the lighter part of it. You just want a suggestion of shade. The sun's catching the top light, and then the rest's under shade a little bit. A couple of bits there. That's it. That's all right. That's fine. So what you've got is a sense of going through into shadow down here, not sort of too much contrast, but just dark, and then the light will sing out when we put the other shadows in. Just there, in that building there, there's a wall you can probably see, and there's a little stream runs down and goes under the houses, comes out at the bottom, and there's like a smuggler's area down the bottom of that. Right, so we've got that. I'm just making sure this is dry. I'll tell you what, while I'm waiting for that to dry, we'll put the foliage in over this side. So you're going over here, so get the yellow again, but add a little bit more blue into it. So a little bit more of French ultramarine or cobalt into it. So you get a duller green like that, a bluey green. And just do the same up here. It doesn't matter if it runs over here because it's all just going to blend together. So just flick. I'll tell you what, you can drop some just bits of really wet yellow while you're on into that up there, so there's parts of it just a bit light. So this is just pure yellow here and there, just dropped into the top corner. Just so we get a sense of light a little bit into that. And then I've gone back to the bluer green. And it wants to be the same sort of tone as the lamppost. Coming down, just flicking it in, don't be too precise about it. And we will add darker in to sort of separate it. If you're going to leave the signage in, just go sort of round it. Get the yellow a little bit more and just flick some lighter patches wet out in front of the lamppost here and there. So this is just pure yellow, just while it's all wet, just flicked out here and there in front of the lamppost. And you can see it, I've probably put it on quite strong so that it stands out against it. So you're getting that in just a few odd flicks. The suggestion that the foliage is wrapped around the posts here and there. And then more of the blue again, and in fact you can use the blue and crimson for that matter. You want sort of the similar tones to that, so a little bit of the blue and crimson. Fetch that in down the edge a bit. I'm just holding the brush upright and just creating flicks with that bluey crimson wash. A bit more yellow into there so it's not too different. And I'm going to flick a few little bits across that. If when we finish that looks a bit odd, we'll wipe it out. So you want a sense of light coming down here, so a little bit of yellow. Just get a sense of lighter foliage just here, coming forward. And then go back to your blue and crimson. And put that in. Fetch that on. The posts there, it doesn't matter if you lose the post, to be honest. I want this to get dark, so get a strong blue into there, strong French ultramarine in, and a strong crimson. And fetch this down, dark down here. Same principle, just flicking around and flick it out and down to the bottom of where the edge of the path is. And allow that to dry, and then we'll put some stronger contrast. Now come down to the bottom here, along here, with your French ultramarine and your crimson. French ultramarine crimson. Start from up here and fetch the shadow round. Lose the white, just go into there. Lose the white of the path. Take the shadow just underneath and take it out a little bit, just where the step is, like that. And then fetch it back, this strong shadow, and blend that shadow into this foliage here. I know there's a bit of wall, but I'm not too worried about the bit of wall. sort of a straightish line coming up, but then sort of speckle it out as though there's the shadow being cast by little bits of the foliage. And you just let all that run together so it's all shaded underneath like that. That's fine, that's looking alright. Like I say, we'll put some darker foliage in when it's dry. I'm quite happy. I might put some darker in there, but I'm quite happy at the moment. I'm not too sure whether I want to interfere too much up there. What I am going to do for 1 second is get some clean water, because that's what I'm painting with. So if you give me a minute, 10 seconds, I'll be back. Right, back. I mean, I'm doing the hard work here, doing an art class. Joan's got it easy, doing all the washing. Doing all the washing and ironing's dead easy. It's me that's got it hard, having to jump back into art classes. Right, so you can see that looks quite nice. I'm quite pleased with that. It looks as though it's darker and a bit of shadow cast here and there. Like I said, we're just going for... I'm not too sure about that sign. I won't leave it like that, bright like that. I'll tone it down and see. And we'll add more shadow to the... What we want now, this is dry-ish. Put this wall in. And this wants to be a little bit more lighter in colour, as though it's catching some of the light, but not a lot. So we want shaded down here. Shaded down here and just getting a little bit of light ochre into part of it. Round the windows, right? So I would just start with yellow ochre. Just yellow ochre by itself. And then we'll drop shadows in. So down here, round the windows, going round the foliage, round the windows. Leave some gaps for the leaves. Just leave some gaps, then you can paint some leaves just hanging over it. What we have to do is darken the far side so we get some contrast for the building, and drop some darks in here and there. So round these lights, round that window, up to the steps. Right, you've got the light, now you've got to drop shadows in. So get a little bit of blue and burnt sienna. A little blue, a little bit of burnt sienna. It doesn't want to be too heavy, but you just want a sense of shadow, so fairly wet. And you've got to come down this side of the building to separate it from the one down there. So you've got to come down here. While it's all wet, probably do it a little bit stronger. In fact, you can do it a little bit stronger. And just separate the edge a little bit so you get a sense of shadow through there. Now come underneath this top and use a bit of blue and crimson. So a little bit of blue, a little bit of crimson, and just create some shadows up underneath the eaves here. And allow that sort of just to run down, and drop some here and there so we create a little feeling, maybe some shadow cast by the foliage over here. Just drop some in patches down in the bottom corner a little bit. Just a few flicks here and there. And then you could probably go back to your yellow ochre and drop some yellow ochres in amongst some of these patches, so that you just break it up, so you have a mottled look to it. So it's just watery yellow ochre, just dropped in here and there, just to create a sort of sense of motley brick. I'm not going to be painting stones in with edges or detail. I'm just going to get that sense of light. Now get your blue and crimson stronger, the sort of colouring you used for the shade over here, and come underneath the building. Wants to be sharper and stronger, and just create a clean line for steps. So it'll line along, step it out a bit, line along, step it out a bit, line along like that, step it out there a bit, and then just blend that into there, so you get a sense of shadow up there like that. That's alright, that's looking fine, that's looking fine. And you just leave that for about 3 days. Right, what we want now is some shadow into here, along here. And like I said, I might move the figures, I might make them a bit bigger, so the shadow be farther away from that shadow that's back there. Right, so this wants to be your blue and crimson, French ultramarine, crimson, and you're going to put it in, you're going to wet it in parts so you get a mottled shadow. And it wants to be on the stronger side than wetter, so that you get this motley feeling of shadow down here. It's quite strong. I sort of aim it that way a little bit. So you can probably put a little, there is a little bit of the shadow going across there, so you can just put a few, just loose sense of, it's foliage, it's a tree here that's casting this shadow. So just put this in quite strong. Take it down to about there. Use your brush upright, so you're flicking it in and creating these broken shadows. It's not all going one way. Build it up to there, like that. And then water, and just wet round it in places, so, and you'll just allow the water to blend in places. So it's just clean water, just touching the edges, and allowing the shadow to be dappled. Like that. Now you can make it stronger, so I'll get a bit more blue and crimson. Make it stronger in this corner. Kath, you've got in. I don't know why you couldn't get in, Kath. I don't know what it is that causes it. It's something to do with YouTube and memberships or something, I don't know. I've tried to find out, but I can't get much farther with it. Right, so stronger ones in here, like that. So you're just getting a stronger shadow into this corner up here. So again, just a few flicks here and there. Don't try and paint it detailed, but you've got to leave light. You've got to leave spaces and light like that across there. I'm going to put some bits of detail in here, and while this is drying, and then we'll paint the edge of the perfect. I'm going to need to darken parts of this down. I don't want to do too much with this. I like it just to blend in and see the focus of light going through. So you can get a finer brush, because what you need to do now is just suggest the windows in, but that's all it's going to be, a suggestion. You're not going to wait a second, no great detail into these, just a suggestion of them. In fact, that one could actually be toned down. It's probably too bright. I'm not going to bother making that a red roof. I'm just going to leave it so it's catching the light. So a bit of burnt sienna blue, bit of burnt sienna blue. There's a window just here. I'll zoom in. Just there. Watering. Just a flick for the sort of the edge, and you can put a suggestion of panes just down there like that. And then a shadow just under the sill. Don't bother trying to do too much with it. Same with this, just a shadow just underneath the top like that. Just into that edge of that roof a little bit. Down the right hand side, just leaving a little bit of light catching, and then a gap, and then a sill. Down the right hand side. Remember the perspective, they're going up because you're walking down a bank. I don't know whether you need to actually put any panes in there. It probably needs to be more shade in there, so there's only a little hint of white like that. What I'm going to do with that actually is just run a little bit of watery yellow in it. I don't want that to be jumping out too much, so just tone it down like that, so it's in the background. And I'm not going to even make a difference between the building and the shadow here, because I like it just to be lost like that. That's fine. Right, we'll come over to here. Be honest, I'm quite happy with that there. I will put some more in. I'll just get another brush and put some darker patches in. I don't want too much. So it would be blue and crimson again, and just flicks. Just try so blue and crimson, and just some flicks in here and there. So you're just creating some. Probably make it darker. So it just comes down and blends in. I don't want to go too far with this because I like it just as it is, really. I think that's all right. I don't want to go too far with it. I want to just sort of let it just become a shadow. But we need to darken this bit down a little bit more into these corners here. So I would actually get your blue and crimson strong, and I would add a little bit of Payne's green. Not much. I just want to get a little bit of contrast. So just a little hint of Payne's grey in there, so it's stronger. So it's stronger. And one or two flicks just around here. You've got to be careful. You don't want to be overdoing it. Right. Touch it down over the actual signage as well, and then one or two just flicks underneath the lighter patches of foliage, and in this area here. You can fetch that out past the lamppost and just sort of create a sense of shadow and darker foliage just here and there. So it's coming across the lamppost, and I would water it into that white a bit, so that's not sticking out. I'm going to drop a little bit of yellow ochre into there just to get a sense of it. Put the darker colour into it just there, coming out across the lamp just here. One or two flicks just there, just little flicks. So So this all blends together into shadow down here. And then some stronger ones just underneath here. I think that's all right. While you're on, just drop a little bit of wet yellow ochre into that signage. If it doesn't work, you can turn, but I'll add something to it afterwards. Right, now what we want to do is put the light. I don't want these to be bright white because they're meant to be in shadow, so we need a little bit of shade across that, and I'll zoom back out a little bit. So you can see where I've just sort of flicked trees in. You can flick as much as you want here and there. If you want some more in, just feel free. I want these toned down, they're too bright, and the same with the lamp. I don't want the lamp to be jumping out, so I'm just going to use the blue and crimson, but really, really wet, really watery. And just paint into these lights and into the lampshade. I've made it a thin lampshade, but it's fine. And then into that sign there. You can't see it very well, but I have toned it down, and into this total window frame. So it's just toned down. That's all right. Right, come to this area now and get this in. So use your blue and burnt sienna strong. What we did with these edges here. So French ultramarine, strong burnt sienna, and create underneath the eaves. So just a line down here like this. Little flick in for that extension or whatever it is up there, and then the eaves start just slightly higher up. Touching amongst the foliage and leave a gap. Do the same with the, I'll just fetch that down a bit so it looks the thing. I'm not going to bother putting lots of shadow underneath there. I'll wait till it dries a bit, otherwise do the same with the window frame, just underneath it at a tight angle like that down. You can get a smaller brush if you want, and just pull that with the dark just very finely down the right hand side. You don't need to go all the way down actually, and then the dark underneath the sill, just a sort of a slash like that. And then we might run some shadow in, a bit more blue in, and across the top of this window frame here. So it sticks out like that and flicks down like that. Underneath there. Down like that. And we will put some shadow underneath these, otherwise they'll look a bit too fixed. I think there's a window there, very narrow one, so I'll just sort of suggest it over there. And then there's just a touch of a one just in here and here. Now remember, because of the perspective, your sill should be rising up here, because you're coming down a bank, so the aiming upwards, like that. Underneath for the doorway entrance, leaving a flick. There's a little lamp or something there, just a suggestion of it. Don't get bogged down with detail too much. And then just a quick fix down here, down to the bottom. And then there's a window. Now, what I would do is just get some yellow ochre and just create that window shape stronger with the yellow ochre around it, and just sort of water it away. Keep it narrow. The perspective demands it to be narrow. underneath there. Right. Now just get a little bit of water, just a bit of yellow ochre. A little bit of yellow ochre. Just soften the shadow down under there. Just pull it down a little bit so it's not so rock hard. It's a bit wet that. I'm just going to dry my brush off and just tease that back a bit. Just a bit still wet. And a little sense of shadow just underneath this. Underneath this here. And I'm going to put the shadow, the little bit of blue and crimson, into that white so it's not so bright. Just tone that down and just create a sense of shadow off it onto the wall a little bit. Sense of shadow off the lamp. A little feeling of some kind of light into that window there, like that. And probably into here, so it's just not so bright. And then going into the centre, just use your blue and crimson again and just try and create a little feeling of window frames in here. Leave patches of foliage showing through. Leave a bit of white and then a finer, narrower line just to suggest the front of the window. Down there. A bit of shadow just cast like that. So it just feels as though you're tying it to the wall a fraction. Probably a little bit darker just in the top. That's alright. Just got to be careful you don't do too much. Right, now the lamp. The lamp wants to be sort of, just use your blue and crimson, but more towards your blue side, more just like a grey, and just go underneath the lamp. Where's the picture at? Have we got a picture somewhere? We have, haven't we? Right, so just want to create that little sense of darker shade in there, and then we'll come back and put the lamp in, and then we'll put the detail in for the window. Might darken that window frame just slightly, but I think I'm alright with doing it just that way. I forget what my picture is now. Oh, there it is. Right, so just go into that lamp and just darken underneath the lamp so you look as though you're looking up into it. You can use a bit of, if you made it too thin like I have, you can use a bit of gouache. And then we'll paint the windows in. I'm just going to put paints into these like that. So you can use a slightly smaller brush if you want. And I would just really get a blue and burnt sienna strong. Lean it more towards the blue side this time, so it's just stronger. What's the window actually look like? It's an open window, isn't it? It's like two paints and an open window. I'm just leaning over myself. So come down, paint your panes, leaving a little gap like that for the top of the window. Bit of wet yellow ochre and just finish them off at the bottom with a bit of wet yellow ochre so they're not solid dark all the way down, and a slight angle to them like that. Then go back to your dark colour, leave a gap for the sash, fetch the window frame down darker like that, and then yellow ochre again so that it's lighter, it's not just dark all the way down, it's just lighter into there. A little bit of dark just underneath to sort of finish the edge. If you don't need to be worried about strong shadows, I mean it's dark up there, I'll just get rid of that white up there, but the mount will take care of that. That's fine. And then you come down to the signage. If you want to put the signage in, just darken down just underneath it. Like that. Get a fine brush. I'm trying to get a fine brush, I've lost the fine brush. fell out of my grip. Right, fine brush, just a dark colour, and just suggest a little bit of signage in there. And then the window is just the same as what you've done up there. Get your blue and burnt sienna, vary the colours, make a bit more blue into it if you want, and just create a darker ledge just there, just underneath the framework like that. So just create a darker ledge and create a darker underneath like that, and then just fill in 4 frames. A fine line under the sill, right across. Just fetch the dark down in between like that. And you take it right across into the yellow ochre. Drop that into the bottom. And drop it even more into the bottom there, so you've got a little bit more light altogether in that side there. In fact, I'm going to drop some water into the bottom so it pushes up and creates a little bit more light into the bottom area. But that's alright, that looks fine. Lamp just flicks. Get a grey pen. It wants to be sharp, so get a strong Payne's grey or something. Strong Payne's grey. And take it across for your lamp. Like that. Down at the angle like that. And then just a few loose flicks up above it. Just to create some edges. I'm going to make it look as though the foliage is behind that, because I made it too thin. So I'm just going to put a line farther out like that. Into there. And wet your brush and just create a shadow side of the one on the inside edge. Like that. And then into your pole, and just break the pole up, coming down through the foliage, just with a Payne's grey. And then you need to broaden it out at the bottom, so you need to make it a bit broader. And then sort of a sense of the thicker part of it down there. But like I said, don't paint it solid, just leave it broken so the light, it looks as though there's foliage sort of going across it and hiding it. Now then, we need to do something with that, so if you're going to leave that in, you need to sort of create a sense that it is a sign. Of course, though it's a signage of something into there. Not a lot, don't put too much detail in. The whites there, just get a watery, if you might not have whites. If you've got any whites like that, just get a watery yellow and lose them. You don't want whites. You don't want anything distracting down there, like that. Right. Using the same Payne's grey, just create a ledge just going up the edge there like that, coming round, and a few sort of sense of paving slabs going up like that. Get some water and wet under them so they're not too harsh, and a bit of yellow ochre, just create that sort of more pebbly broken surface just into there. Even a bit of burnt sienna in there so it's not too bright, just creating that sense of shadow just coming round like that. Leave that to dry a little bit, then I'll just run some light into that. Go for your darker blue and crimson and just create a little bit more stronger shadow just under the edges here and up to where the lamp is. Want a bigger brush really. A bit of yellow ochre into there. That doesn't want to be bright white, so just tone that down, that edge. That's it. What we want now is to come and paint these in dark. These in darker and stronger. I'll tell you what, just get a little bit of blue and crimson. Just a couple of sort of slashes across there to make it look as though there's shadow onto them. This wants to be strong. This ledge of things. It wants to come from thin, getting broader. So mix really strong blue, burnt sienna and crimson. So it's a strong dark using crimson, French ultramarine and burnt sienna. So you get a really strong dark colouring. Do it fine down here, so you're sort of just suggesting the path sort of vanishing around the corner, so just a fine stroke. Leave a gap and then raise it up a little bit and then thin it out just there. Leave a gap, make it thicker and thin it out round there. And then just here, raise the gap up, thin it down along here, and then up here, stronger, and paint the shape in and then drop some colour in. So you paint the shape in and what you do is you just create a little bit of crumbly edge to it just to suggest the paving. You don't need to paint all the paving stones in, you just suggest a crumpled edge. But quite quickly make it broad and broken so that you can drop some lighter colours in. One or two flicks for light there, and then I've just often to lift it up so that I can get in. I'm using too small of a brush here. Hit this up like that. Get some yellow ochre wet and drop that in where you've just left some gaps of light. But what you do want is a clean line. You don't want it broken. You want a clean line to make it look like strong sunshine is hitting this edge here. So it's clean line. Just fetching it up and a clean line off. So you've got a really hard edge there. Just suggesting going around the corner. Get a little bit of yellow ochre and just touch into some of these edges here that you've done. Just a little bit of wet yellow ochre so it's just crumbled surfaces. That's fine, that's alright, that's all you need. I might just emphasise that line down there a little bit. Like that. That's alright, I'm happy enough with that. I think that's looking alright. I'm going to just darken slightly with a little bit of bluey grey just into that top edge there and that edge there. Just a suggestion that there's a break in the window just there. Just water it down a little bit. And probably darken that because the shadow running. I'm just going to darken the bottom ledge of that so it stands out a bit better. That's it, that's alright. So really it's down to figures We'll just zoom out, see what it looks like. There's the zoom on it. That's looking alright, so you can sort of sense the steps up there, going up there, round the corner. A little bit of foliage, a little bit of foliage. That's fine. Don't make this too complicated. Don't make this too complicated. Just wants to look. If you want, where we put the shadow in, you can just get a little bit of shadow and just suggest one or two window panes in there if you wanted to, like that. So now it's figures and the dog, and like I said, I might make the figures bigger so that you can feel as though they're not involved with that shadow, so you can put a shadow off them. And if you've lost the heads, you can always use gouache to put the heads and shoulders back in, which is a regular thing we do. So get a nice sort of watery blue. Just wet, very watery. I need a bigger brush than that, that's too fine. Yeah, just a watery blue, and we'll just create her top. So just a few flicks of shadow just underneath like that. I'm just going to take it farther down than I drew it. I'm making it bigger. I'm going to leave the white catching the light, and then put a head and arms in like that. So I'll let that go like that. Go to him, we'll put him, what sort of colour has he got on? I don't know. Where's the photograph? He's got a darker sort of, he's got a knapsack on, and a knapsack of some sort on. Right, we'll put a knapsack. We'll put him with a knapsack on, so we'll put him in with the blue, all like a blue. Just leave the light on the top of the shoulders, like that. Leave a gap of light for where the knapsack will be. Just broaden him out like that. Right? The dog just wants a little hint of yellow ochre burnt sienna just underneath it. Just a flick like that. That's all you need for a dog, a flick. And we'll put some shadow underneath it to tie it to the ground. Trousers, we'll put some trousers. Let it all blend together. So we'll just get some. I'll tell you what. I'll use red on her. I think just a bit of red works nice. Just use a dull brown and paint his sort of trouser, and just let it bleed into the blue. I'll zoom in. Sorry, I'll zoom in for this for you. Just let the burnt sienna and blend into the blue. And we'll make her a red bottom. I'm not too sure about bothering to getting the thing tied around. I'm just going to make it a red dress. Down like that. I'll tell you what to do with that. Just get a little bit of bright yellow and just drop it in on one side, so you just vary the colouring on it a little bit. In fact, you can drop a little bit of light yellow into him, and then we'll put the knapsack on him. Right, what you want for the backs of the heads, etc., is just some yellow ochre with a little bit of cadmium red in. Right, go round the back of the head, leaving some white on it. If you don't get white left on it, just use some gouache. Just into the back, into sort of the shoulders, but again I'm going to put some white gouache across the top of that. Just blend that into him there, and we'll use some gouache to separate the shoulders. The hair there like that, leaving just that little bit of white. Bit lighter actually. Paint it down and paint the sort of where neck goes into her top, and then her arms. out like that. Look as though they could be coming forward, but that's fine. And then the legs. He's got a funny walk. That must be the way I've caught him. Just the legs. Don't be too bogged down with detail on the legs. Start them off so you know where they are, and then just a flick. And have one leg slightly longer than the other so you get that suggestion of walking. Excuse me. That one just a bit longer. Now drop a little bit, if you've got any, of clean water in the bottom. And just let that float up a little bit. I'm just going to make his leg just a little bit broader at the top because he looks too thin there. That's alright, that's fine. Right, we'll put his knapsack on. Just get a bit of bright blue with hardly any water in. Just sort of suggest a knapsack over there. You can use a bit of gouache to lighten up the top in a minute and flick it and shape it and shadow it onto there. A little bit of cadmium red into the tops of the legs. It just feels a bit darker coming out. Right, you need shadows off these people now. So blue and crimson, French ultramarine and crimson. Under the dog, leave a gap, just a little flick of shadow. Under his foot there, pull the shadow back, leave a gap, pull the shadow back, and then just slightly strengthen it. And you don't need to water these out because they're meant to be dead strong. Time's out. Drop a bit of dark just underneath her hair. Just use the same colour like that. And the back of his head. Flick for an outfit. Right, that's alright, that's fine. I'm going to use some gouache with a fine brush, if I can find a fine brush, and just create some. I mean, I've got the highlights. I'm not going to touch the hair, but if you've lost the head, just put a touch of brown there so she doesn't look like she's got a top knot on. If you've lost the heads, just put it in with gouache, like that. So I'm going to just use some gouache and just straight from the pan, straight from the tube, sorry, and just flick in for his backpack, over his shoulder like that. Flick down, across the top of her shoulders, across the top of his shoulders, I don't know whether to do anything with the dog or not. I think that's what I've just leant on that, so I shouldn't have. I should have waited. I'll just use some white gouache in there to get rid of that where I've just messed it up, leaning on it. Suggest something on the back, another strap across there to make sure it looks like a knapsack. Right, let's see what that looks like. Just zoom out. Oh, that looks alright actually. I'm just going to move brushes out the road. Like I say, you can add things. If you don't like anything of it, that's not too bad, it's alright. But supposedly, I suppose what you could do, in a second, just get some gouache off that brush. What you could do is just flick into a bit of bright yellow and just flick some foliage over it so it looks as though it's hidden a bit, which is fine. I'm just going to move the palette out the road. I think that looks alright. I can't, I'll try, I can't lift the camera up any higher yet. I'll try and just get a mount round that. There you go, that's not, I mean, I'll just move it down, so that's the picture, and that's the mount, so you can see that like that. So I think that looks fine, that. Just getting that strong shadowed, that looks like a blob of white, but it's not, it's just because the paint is wet. Don't get, the thing to do with this is not to get down too much detail. That looks nice, that's what I wanted to do, get a sense of light foliage, dark shadows, and strong sunlight on the floor, on the ground. And I think that's all right. I think we've achieved that. So, it's only 12 o'clock, but I think this is what I like about doing loose ones, is just to be free with it and see what you come out with. Just see what happens. So, you know, create some sense of light and shade. It's light and shade. It's the dark of that, the light of that, and the strong light here and the dark into here that makes a picture. It just adds to the light and shade, makes a nice contrast to it. So I think that's a, you can always go over it like brighten foliage up, but I think I'm quite happy to leave that in, to leave that in the shadow like that. I might even tone the lamp down, I don't know. You don't want a lamp on. So I think that's all right. The figures look fine, I'm quite happy with them. That looks as, that it's just wet, so it's just coming together, and I think they are. Make sure you leave a gap between them. I could have done with even more gap between them and the shadow down there, so they feel as though they're in intense light. I think that's okay, I'm quite happy with that. So that's Robin Hood's Bay as of Friday morning, just gone when we went down. Right, let's see. Where am I? I don't even know where I'm at. Alright, yeah, I'll hold it up for you. Oops, too bright. There you go. I think that looks alright, really. Just tilt it an angle so you can see it. So it's dappled shadows at the bottom, dappled trees, dappled foliage, no branches in, dappled foliage and strong shadows in the distance. So you get the figures emphasised as they walk and down into it. Right, is everybody alright with that? I think. Well, according to my settings here, I've got excellent connections. I always have. Excellent connections, so I know you're about 15 seconds behind what I'm saying. So I'm going to leave it because I can't do anything else, but tomorrow I might try and do a pastel tomorrow down the gallery. I haven't got where am I at? I haven't got everything sorted out down there because I went away and just lazed around for a week. But I have separated all the wires down the gallery. When our Lynn was away last Friday, I separated, because the modem down the bottom was wrapped around wires, so I have pulled the connections away a bit, and hopefully that might give me a better connection when I'm upstairs in the gallery. So I'll let you know, but I'll try one tomorrow, but I don't want to get you too involved in case it doesn't connect again or breaks down. But I'll send a message to you tonight and tell you what I'm doing in the morning, and I'll photograph this one and get this one sent up to you, because I know you've missed doing work. So that's the photograph, and that's the picture. I think that's all right. Nice picture. There's nobody talking, so I presume you've all left and gone for lunches. But I know you're behind. I'm just going to wait till somebody answers me. Oh, there you go. Brian, still got the figures to fill in. Happy, good. Yeah, thanks, Brian. Just be quick with the figures. Don't never get too much with them. But what you do need with the figures is light on the tops and a bit of white body filler, so it's not just so you are fetching them out from the picture. A little bit of dark here, a little bit of thing. Ken looks canny. Yep, thank you, Ken. I think it looks all right. I think that'll sell down in Robin and Spear. Heather, thanks, Eric. Looking good. Yeah, thank you. So keep these strong. Don't make these soft shadows. Keep them strong. It wants to feel like strong sunlight hitting them. This has to be dappled because it's a sense of movement of the foliage, the trees next to it. Gives that dappled effect. But strong there, strong into there and underneath. And just let that wash in. Don't have a big hard line. Let the foliage wash into the buildings, and then a little bit of cast shadow onto that. All works well. So I'll get that sent up to you tonight, Robin. Way behind, but coming together. Love it. Thank you, Robin. Yeah, it's nice picture. I've got loads of photographs of Robin Hood's Bay, but I'll give you a break from Robin Hood's Bay and everywhere else. Went to Scarborough at the weekend. We were at Whitby till Friday, and then we went to Scarborough, and I do regret that actually. It wasn't very good. Whitby's brilliant. If you want to go to Whitby, the Resolution Hotel. It's like a bar type hotel, but it's brilliant. Well, food is fantastic in it. Breakfast, evening meals if you want that, fantastic. And really nice rooms, all being done up. And it's just a straight walk down, 2 minutes walk to the front. The Resolution. Right, okay then, folks, where are we at? Let's get the right camera. Right, that's the right camera. So I shall see. If I decide to do a picture tomorrow, I'm looking at that camera now. If I decide to do a picture tomorrow down the gallery, I'll post it tonight. But I can't guarantee that it won't run out yet till I can get that sorted out. But if it does run out, I'll continue on and finish it. But I'll work on one tomorrow for you. And if I don't see you then, I'll see you Wednesday night. I'll get a new picture up for you for Wednesday night. I can see myself on a screen about doing things about 15 seconds behind what I'm doing. Right, okay then, folks. I think I can make the music. Play. Ta-da. Yeah, but with no sound. Right. Okay then, I shall see you on Wednesday. Bye.